This is part 12. Now I'm going to work on the alternator. The alternator has this through bolt that goes down. And I'm going to get it to place. I'm trying to fit it over this thing right here. It's going, but man. Let's see if the bolt will go through. Not quite. This hole right here for the alternator is giving me some trouble with the bolt, so I'm just going to clean the threads with my tap here. Okay, I've worked my tap through there a few times now. I can thread the bolt and it should go smooth. Yep. This M8 is going to go to 24 Newton meters. This bolt right here gets torqued to 49 Newton meters. Underneath the alternator, there's an electrical connection that you have to hook up right there, and another one right there that has a nut. This is what it looks like now that I have it connected. There's the plastic connector right there, and then this bolted connector right here. Now I'm going to install the drive belt auto tensioner. The center bolt on the auto tensioner gets torqued to 44 Newton meters. The smaller bolt on the auto tensioner gets torqued to 24 Newton meters. Now I'm going to try and install the drive belt. And I need it to be facing like this. Around the crankshaft. my breaker bar. Okay. There we go. I'm gonna see if I can get the fan on before time runs out. The rain is coming. Behind the fan there's just 4 bolts and they get torqued down to, I think it's 11 Newton meters, but I can't fit a torque wrench back here, so I'm just gonna tighten them by hand to snug. Now the last thing I'm gonna do is take my pin out of the auto tensioner, and I just need my breaker bar, a 1/2 inch breaker bar. So I just turn it clockwise to release the tension, and then I can grab my pin. So I got the fan in. Next is the fan shroud. I'm just gonna clean these hose pipes now, so I can install the upper and lower radiator hoses now that I've got the radiator shroud on. Now I'm gonna put the lower radiator hose on. Now I can put the upper one on. And don't forget to tighten the hose clamp around this one too. Next thing I'm going to install is this high pressure fuel connector. So I've got the little connector pressed in here on the fuel rail. Use high pressure fuel connector bolts get torqued down to 9 Newton meters. Oh, my extension is a little too long. Next I've got this other fuel hose. It goes right into this tube right here. I think I'm just about ready to put the plenum on. I've got the gasket right here. It's got this tab on this one side, and this tab goes to the front. Okay, I'm gonna attempt to put the plenum on. I've got the front and the back screws on there to kind of guide me. Gotta see if this other bolt will line up. Got the first two bolts in. Looks like my gasket is lined up in place. Got my template here to guide me. It's gonna get tightened to 19 Newton meters. I'm gonna install the EGR pipe next, but I need my gasket first. I'm gonna take my gasket over there. These EGR pipe bolts get torqued to about 19 Newton meters. Now I'm going to attach these fuel line bracket. Next up, I've got this bracket, which attaches down here at the head and up here at the plenum. So these bottom bolts that go on the head for this plenum bracket, they get torqued to 36 Newton meters. These bolts on the top of the bracket that go into the plenum, they get torqued to 18 Newton meters. On this top nut here, this electrical connector goes right here, and it goes in like this. The transmission fluid dipstick mounts to this bracket. And the engine oil dipstick mounts to a hole back here. I'm also going to tighten these high pressure fuel line brackets to 18 Newton meters. On top of the plenum next to the ignition coil pack, there's this bracket that goes on these 4 bolts right here. And I'm just going to tighten these down with my wrench. What I'm going to do now is plug in the spark plug wires into the ignition pack. And I have markers for 5, 2, 1, 4, 3, and 6 all the way across in that order. So I'm going to start on this left side, that's number 6. And then this is number 3. And we need number 4. And then number 1 goes right here. Number 2. And finally number 5. Right here on these spark plug wires, I fitted these little dividers. So I've got one of those dividers right here, and then one that's right up here. And I can drape this across and it won't touch anything metal. So now that I've got the spark plug wires attached, I'm going to do the throttle cable, and then I'm going to do all the hoses and electrical connectors after that. The throttle cable wraps around right here and it has this little bracket that gets screwed in on top of the plenum. Before I fit the throttle cable in its little slot over here, I just want to put the end that goes in the actual throttle body in its little spot. Now I'm just going to tighten my throttle bolts here. Next I'm going to put this electrical connector for the fuel injectors back. It goes right here, but mine's actually kind of broken, so I'm gonna fit it on there the best I can, and then use electrical tape. Looking over the plenum, there's actually a bracket that has some electrical connectors that goes right about here. So I'm going to attach that now. The connected bracket looks like that. Over here on the left side of the plenum, I've got 3 hoses that I'm going to plug in. I've got 1, 2, and 3. And this guy just goes on there. The last one comes up from the valve cover down here. On this side of the plenum, actually the throttle body, there's a coolant hose that goes right here and another one that goes right here. On the front of the plenum, there's a little hose barb thing, and the hose that goes from the fuel pressure regulator hooks right into that. Also behind the plenum, there's this little tube right here. It actually gets routed all the way back here to behind the plenum. Going behind the plenum, and the little hose barb is right here. Now that I'm done with all the hoses for now, I can start connecting the electrical wires, and I'm actually going to start back here because the wiring harness actually starts from back here and then wraps around the plenum. So I'm just gonna go from where it starts and just go connector by connector. Yeah, I think I've got this one. This one has a little connector lock on it, so you have to put it in. So I'm taking my wiring harness from back here, and I'm actually going to fit this connector onto this bracket. That'll hold my cabling there, and then this connector goes right here. Now I can drape my harness over the engine, and I can plug this one in right here. And there's this little electrical connector right here that goes onto this little slot. And this one goes right there. There's two right up here, a big one and a little one. So I've got the wiring harness draped over the plenum here, and I've just got it kind of roughly aligned with where everything will plug into. And I'm just gonna start plugging in. This is the crankshaft position sensor. And then there's a wire tie that goes right here. And then we've got the ignition coils. Okay. Now I've got this one up here. Got this oxygen sensor over here. So over here I've got this connector that goes to this one. There's this little yellow cable that goes down to the power steering pump. And it clips on right here. There's actually just two more wires that I need to connect. There's a little ground wire right here that goes right over here. And the last wire that I'm going to connect is this ground wire that comes from behind the engine compartment. And it just attaches right here. That concludes this part of the series. Don't forget to check the description for more information, and I'll see you in the next part.